Chag Sameach. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hey. Yeah. Please come to the first row if you can. So we are. Yeah. Perfect.
Oh, come on, Jews are never on time.
What?
Jews are never on time.
They are.
Tell that to us on Friday night. We were just,
We will be.
we were leisurely enjoying our Shabbat evening.
Arlene, look at your cushion. Yes. Okay, welcome. Erev Tov, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Okay, Chag Sameach, everyone. We are not zooming, but we are streaming on Facebook and YouTube.
Wave to our friends out there.
Yeah. So, hey, Shabbat Shalom. Chag Sameach. Oh my God! It's like okay. So first, I would just want to say that we are living difficult days, yeah. So I always thought that Purim is in spite of the fact that it is a very joy holiday, it's a very serious one because it's about anti-Semitism. It's about Amalek, who fought the Israelites in the desert. It's about Haman, the wicked in Persia. And it's, yes. Yeah, we will have enough time to practice.
Just making sure.
And, we have plenty of grogers. Yes, and so same thing with, I think with, throughout our history, we read in the Passover Haggadah, B'chol dor vador, in every generation we had to deal with this issue. But we after the Shoah we never thought that this will come again and rise again in the way it is nowadays. So let's I remember one of my rabbis studying Talmud and Talmud all the time, and he would say, "Hafsaka kala." Let's do like a very short break. This was for him to go to the restroom and come back to the Chavruta to study. But let's have an hafsaka. Let's have a break, and let's be thankful for our lives, for being Jews, for standing for Israel and our values, and we always seek peace, and unfortunately sometimes we need to fight, and this is probably one of these times. So let's do this in a joyful way, and thinking of our, in my case, in your case, family in Eretz Israel, and also lots of friends and all Am Israel over there who are really living very tough days. Okay, so let's start with the prayer on page 4 in our Sidurim. We'll do kind of prayer. We need the Sidur before. Yes. Page 4. Purim is not a Yom Tov. It's not like Pesach or Shavuot or Sukkot. It's more like Hanukkah and with what the rabbis call like minor festivals. So we used to work on Purim, but also we used to drink on Purim, right? I never drink, but on Purim it's like a mitzvah. So you need to drink. You know what the rabbi say in order not to distinguish between Haman and Mordechai. Okay? Okay. And what other customs we have in Purim? You know, Sylvia, because we were talking about that yesterday. So, Mishloach Manot, right? So we send to our friends and loved ones, we send some treats, and also Matanot La'evyonim, which are like gifts for the poor. So all it's written in the Megillah, in the scroll of Esther. We're going to read some paragraphs of this. Okay, page 4, please stand up if you can. ברכו את אדוני המבורך, ברוך אדוני המבורך, לעולם ועד. Please sit down. Page 6. ומעביר יום ומביא לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה. אדוני צבאות שמו, אל חי וקיים תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני המריב ערבים. Page 8. ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד. ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד. Okay, page 12. You shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. Take to heart these instructions which I charge to you this day. Impress them upon your children. Recite them when you stay at home and when you are away, when you lie down and when you get up. Bind them as a sign on your hand and let them serve as a symbol on your forehead. Inscribe them on your doorsteps, on your house, or your gates. Thus you shall remember to observe my commandments and to be holy to your God. I am Adonai, your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I'm Adonai, your God. Adonai Elohechem emet. Okay, I didn't think about the guitar, but Micha Mocha without the guitar, it's difficult. So please use your groggers to follow the rhythm. Page 16. Mi kamocha, mi kamocha, mi kamocha, mi kamocha, mi kamocha, mi kamocha ba'elim Adonai. Mi kamocha, mi kamocha, mi kamocha, mi kamocha, mi kamocha, mi kamocha, hey nedar בקודש נורא תהילות עושה ולנורא תהילות עושה ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל. Page 18. ושמור צאתנו ובואנו לחיים ולשלום מעתה ועד עולם. ברוך אתה אדוני שומר עמו ישראל לעד. Okay, so please stand up for the Amidah. There is a special Amidah for Purim on page 74 in our Sidurim. So we say the Amidah silently, page 74 till page 10, till page 100. Adonai sefatai tiftachu fi יגיד תהילתך. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. על הניסים ולפורקן ולגבורות ולתשועות ועל המלחמות שעשית לאבותינו ואמותינו בימים ההם בזמן הזה. We thank you also for the miracles, for the redemption, for the mighty deeds and saving acts brought about by you, and for the wars which you waged for our ancestors in the days of old in this season. In the days of Mordechai and Esther, the wicked Haman arose in Persia, plotting the destruction for all the Jews. He planned to destroy them in a single day, the 13th of Adar, and to permit the plunder of their possessions. But through your great mercy, his plan was thwarted, his scheme frustrated. We therefore thank and bless you, O great and gracious God. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל, ויאמרו אמן. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Okay, so here we have more photocopies. So if you need, please, you can have one and give to the people who don't have. So I'm losing feathers. This is part of the joy. Okay, so we're going to read some verses in Hebrew. I will chant with a traditional melody, and then we will read in English, okay, so we can understand, all of us, we can understand what we are saying. And there are blessings before the Megillah, before reading the Megillah, on page 573 in our Sidurim. So 3 blessings. Good. Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kideshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al mikra Megillah. Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam שעשה ניסים לאבותינו ואימותינו בימים ההם בזמן הזה. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. Chapter 1 ויהי בימי אחשוורוש הוא אחשוורוש המולך מהודו ועד כוש 720 מדינה בימים ההם כשבט המלך אחשוורוש על כיסא מלכותו אשר בשושן הבירה בשנת 3 למולכו עשה משתה לכל שריו ועבדיו חיל פרס ומדי הפרטמים ושרי המדינות לפניו בהראותו את עושר כבוד מלכותו ואת יקר תפארת גדולתו ימים רבים 800 יום ובמלאת הימים האלה עשה המלך לכל העם הנמצאים בשושן הבירה למגדול ועד קטן משתה 7 ימים בחצר גינת ביתן המלך. Okay, so we will use the microphone not because we need it, but because it's for the streaming. Steve, you start.
It happened in the days of Ahasuerus that Ahasuerus, who reigned over 127 provinces from India to Ethiopia. In those days, when King Ahasuerus occupied the royal throne in the fortress Shushan, in the 3rd year of his reign, he gave a banquet for all the officials and courtiers, the administration of Persia and Media, the nobles and the governors of the provinces in his service. For no fewer than 180 days he displayed the vast riches of his kingdom and the splendid glory of his majesty. At the end of this period, the king gave a banquet for 7 days in the court of the king's palace garden for all the people who lived in the fortress Shushan, high and low alike.
Good. Continue.
On the 7th day, when the king was merry with wine, he ordered the 7 eunuchs in attendance on King Ahasuerus to bring, not him, to bring Queen Vashti before the king wearing a royal diadem to display her beauty to the peoples and the officials, for she was a beautiful woman. But Queen Vashti refused to come out of the king's command conveyed by the eunuchs. The king was greatly incensed, and his fury burned within him. Then the king consulted the sages learned in procedure, for it was the royal practice to all who were versed in law and precedent. What shall be done according to law to Queen Vashti for failing to obey the command of King Ahasuerus conveyed by the eunuchs?
Yeah, let's pass the microphone.
16.
Verse 16.
Thereupon, Memucan declared in the presence of the king and the ministers, Queen Vashti has committed an offense not only against your majesty, but also against all the officials and against all the peoples in the provinces of King Ahasuerus. For the queen's behavior will make all wives despise their husbands, as they reflect that King Ahasuerus himself ordered Queen Vashti to be brought before him, but she would not come. This very day the ladies of Persia and Media, who have heard of the queen's behavior, will cite it to all your majesty's officials, and there will be no end of scorn and provocation. If it please your majesty, let a royal edict be issued by you, and let it be written into the laws of Persia and Media, so that it cannot be abrogated, that Vashti shall never enter the presence of King Ahasuerus, and let your majesty bestow her royal state upon another who is more worthy than she. Then will the judgment executed by your majesty resound throughout your realm, vast though it is, and all wives will treat their husbands with respect, high and low alike.
It's like Persia today. So we will continue reading in Hebrew, chapter 2, and then we'll continue in English. Okay, so we did yesterday. We did at the religious school the following. So not all of you knows when we pronounce the name of Ahasuerus, we say okay. When we pronounce the name of Esther, which her Hebrew name was Hadassah actually, but Esther or Hadassah, we say how? Yay! And then, of course, when we pronounce the name of the wicked Haman, okay, good. What else? When, of course, Mordechai. What we did yesterday is we clapped 5 times. Yeah, Mordechai. Okay, good. Chapter Bet. איש יהודי היה בשושן הבירה, ושמו מרדכי. בן יאיר בן שמעי, בן קיש עיר ימיני, אשר הוגלה מירושלים, עם הגולה אשר הוגלתה, עם יחניה מלך יהודה, אשר הוגלה נבוכדנצר מלך בבל. ויהי יומן את הדסה, היא אסתר בת דודו, כי אין לה אב ואם, והנערה יפת תואר וטובת מראה, ובמות אביה ואימה לקחה מרדכי לא לבד. Good. Meredith.
Sometime afterward, when the anger...
Sorry. We will use this during the last 3 years, and we will use next year. So please keep the order of the pages. Okay, good.
Sometime afterward, when the anger of King Ahasuerus subsided, he thought of Vashti and what she had done and what had been decreed against her. The king's servants who attended him said, "Let beautiful young virgins be sought out for your majesty. Let your majesty appoint officers in every province of your realm to assemble all the beautiful young virgins at the fortress of Shushan. In the harem, under the supervision of Hagi, the king's eunuch, guardian of the women. Let them be provided with their cosmetics, and let the maiden who pleases your majesty be queen instead of Vashti. The proposal pleased the king, and he acted upon it.
Yeah, pass the microphone.
In the fortress of Shushan lived a Jew by the name of Mordecai, son of Yair, son of Shimei, son of Kish, and Benjaminite. Had been exiled from Jerusalem in the group that was carried into exile along with King Jeconiah of Judah, which had been driven into exile by King Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar.
No. Nebuchadnezzar, no problem. It's
Of Babylon.
Okay. Yeah.
He was a foster father of Hadassah.
Yay!
That is Esther.
Yay!
His uncle's daughter, for she had neither father nor mother. That's the maiden was shapely and beautiful and when her father and mother died, Mordecai adopted her as his own daughter.
Wonderful. Yeah. Pass the microphone. By the way, you know, this is a common mistake. When I was a kid at school, my Hebrew teacher taught me that Mordecai was Esther's uncle.
That's what I was yeah.
Not Esther's uncle. What was the relationship between Esther and Mordecai? A good one, yeah. But they were cousins. Cousins, yeah, first cousins. Okay.
When the king's order and edict was proclaimed, and when many girls were assembled in the fortress of Shushan under the supervision of Haggai, Esther,
Yay!
too, was taken into the king's palace under the supervision of Haggai, the guardian of the women. And when the turn came for Esther,
Yay!
daughter of Abihail, the uncle of Mordecai, who had adopted her as his own daughter, to go to the king, she did not ask for anything but what Haggai, the king's eunuch, guardian of women, advised. Yet Esther won the admiration of all who saw her. Esther was taken to King Ahasuerus in his royal palace in the 10th month, which is the month of Tebeth, in the 7th year of his reign. The king loved Esther more than all the other women, and she won his grace and favor more than all the other virgins. So he set a royal diadem on her head and made her queen instead of Vashti. At that time, when Mordecai was sitting in the palace gate, Bigthan and Teresh, two of the king's eunuchs who guarded the threshold, became angry and plotted to do away with King Ahasuerus. Mordecai learned of it and told it to Queen Esther.
Yay!
And Esther reported it to the king in Mordecai's name. The matter was investigated and found to be so, and the two were impaled on stakes. Yikes. This was recorded in the book of Annals at the insistence of the king.
Thank you. Chapter Gimel. אחר הדברים האלה גידל המלך אחשוורוש את המן בן המדת ההגגי וינשאו וישם את כסאו מעל כל השרים אשר איתו וכל עבדי המלך אשר בשער המלך קוראים ומשתחווים להמן כי כן ציווה לו המלך ומרדכי לא יכרע ולא ישתחווה וייבז בעיניו לשלוח יד במרדכי לבדו כי הגידו לו את המרדכי ויבקש המן להשמיט את כל היהודים אשר בכל מלכות אחשוורוש המרדכי. בחודש הראשון הוא חודש ניסן בשנת 12 למלך אחשוורוש הפיל פור הוא הגורל לפני המן. מיום ליום ומחודש לחודש 12 וחודש אדר. Yeah, let's go in English. Chapter 3.
Sometime afterward, King Ahasuerus promoted Haman, son of Hammedatha, the Gagagite. He advanced him and seated him higher than any of his fellow officials. All the king's courtiers in the palace gate knelt and bowed low to Haman. For such was the king's order concerning him. But Mordecai would not kneel or bow low. When Haman saw that Mordecai would not kneel or bow low to him, Haman was filled with rage.
But he disdained to lay hands on Mordecai alone, having been told who Mordecai's people were. Haman plotted to do away with all the Jews, Mordecai's people, throughout the kingdom of Ahasuerus. In the first month, that is the month of Nisan, in the 12th year of King Ahasuerus, Pur, which means the lot, was cast before Haman concerning every day and every month until it fell in the 12th month, that is the month of Adar.
Thank you. Okay.
You gotta pass it back around.
Continue. Yeah.
Okay. How long shall I step Haman then said to King.
Boo, boo, boo.
Then said to King Ahasuerus, There is a certain people scattered and dispersed among the other peoples in all the provinces of your realm, whose laws are different from those of any other people, and who do not obey the king's laws, and it is not in your majesty's interest to tolerate them. If it please your majesty, let an edict be drawn for their destruction, and I will pay 10,000 talents of silver to the stewards for deposit in the royal treasury. Thereupon the king removed his signet ring from his hand and gave it to Haman.
Boo.
Some of Hammedatha, the Agagite, the foe of the Jews. And the king said, The money and the people are yours to do with as you see fit.
On the 13th day of the first month, the king's scribes were summoned, and a decree was issued as Haman directed to the king's satraps, to the governors of every province, and to the officials of every people, to every province in its own script. And then its own language. The orders were issued in the name of King Ahasuerus and sealed with the king's seal. Accordingly, written instructions were dispatched by couriers to all the king's provinces to destroy, massacre, and exterminate all the Jews, young and old, children and women, on a single day, on the 13th day of the 12th month, that is, the month of Adar, and to plunder their possessions.
Thank you. We continue with chapter 4 in Hebrew. ומרדכי ידע את כל אשר נעשה, ויקרא מרדכי את בגדיו, וילבש שק ואפר, ויצא בתוך העיר, ויזעק זעקה גדולה ומרה, ובכל מדינה ומדינה, מקום אשר דבר המלך ודתו מגיע, אבל גדול ליהודים, וצום ובכי ומספד, שק ואפר יוצא לרבים, ותאמר אסתר להשיב את מרדכי כנוס את כל היהודים הנמצאים בשושן, וצומו עלי ואל תאכלו ואל תשתו 3 ימים לילה ויום, גם אני ונערותי אצום כן. ובכן אבוא אל המלך אשר לא חדד, וכאשר עבדתי ויבוא מרדכי ויעש ככל אשר ציוותה עליו אסתר.
When Mordecai learned all that had happened, Mordecai tore his clothes and put on sackcloth and ashes. He went through the city crying out loudly and bitterly. Also, in every province that the king's command and decree reached, there was great mourning among the Jews, with fasting, weeping, and wailing, and everybody lay in sackcloth and ashes.
Continue a little bit.
Okay. Thereupon, Esther summoned Hathach, one of the eunuchs whom the king had appointed to serve her, and sent him to Mordecai to learn the why and wherefore of it all. Hathach went out to Mordecai in the city square in front of the palace gate, and Mordecai told him all that had happened to him and all about the money that Haman had offered to pay into the royal treasury for the destruction of the Jews. He also gave him the written text of the law that had been proclaimed in Shushan for their destruction. He bade them show it to Esther and inform her and charge her to go to the king and to appeal to him and to plead with him for her people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Then Esther sent back the answer to Mordecai. Go assemble all the Jews who live in Shushan and fast in my behalf. Do not eat or drink for 3 days, night or day, and I and my maidens will observe the same fast. Then I shall go to the king, though it is contrary to the law, and if I am to perish, I shall perish. So Mordecai went about and the city and did just as Esther had commanded.
Thank you. I will continue chapter Perek 5. ויהי ביום השלישי ותלבש אסתר מלכות ותעמוד בחצר בית המלך הפנימית נוכח בית המלך, והמלך יושב על כיסא מלכותו בבית המלכות נוכח פתח הבית. ויהי כראות המלך את אסתר המלכה עומדת בחצר, נשאה חן בעיניו, ויושט המלך לאסתר את שרביט הזהב אשר בידו, ותקרב אסתר ותיגע בראש השרביט. ויאמר לה המלך, מלך אסתר המלכה, ומה בקשתך עד חצי המלכות, ואינה אתן לך.
On the 3rd day, Esther put on a royal apparel and stood in the inner court of the king's palace, facing the king's palace, while the king was sitting on his royal throne in the throne room facing the entrance of the palace. As soon as the king saw Queen Esther standing in the court, she won his favor. The king extended to Esther the golden scepter which he had in his hand, and Esther approached and touched the tip of the scepter. "What troubles you, Queen Esther?" the king asked her, "and what is your request? Even to half the kingdom, it shall be granted you."
Continue a little bit, yeah.
"If it please your majesty," Esther replied, "let your majesty and Haman come today to the feast that I have prepared for him." The king commanded, "Tell Haman to hurry and do Esther's bidding." So the king and Haman came to the feast that Esther had prepared. At the wine feast, the king asked Esther, "What is your wish? It shall be granted you. And what is your request? Even to half the kingdom, it shall be fulfilled." "My wish," replied Esther, "my request, if your majesty will do me the favor, if it please your majesty to grant my wish and accede to my request, let your majesty and Haman come to the feast which I will prepare for them, and tomorrow I will do your majesty's bidding." That day, Haman went out happy and lighthearted. But when Haman saw Mordecai in the palace gate, and Mordecai did not rise or even stir on his account, Haman was filled with rage at him. Then his wife, Zeresh, and all his friends said to him, "Let a stake be put up, 50 cubits high, and in the morning ask the king to have Mordecai impaled on it. Then you can go gaily with the king to the feast." The proposal pleased Haman, and he had the stake put up.
Thank you. Chapter 6, פרק ו'. בלילה ההוא נדדה שנת המלך, ויאמר להביא את ספר הזיכרונות, דברי הימים, והיו נקראים לפני המלך, וימצא כתוב אשר הגיד מרדכי על בקטנה ותרש שני סריסי המלך משומרי הסף, אשר ביקשו לשלוח יד במלך אחשוורוש, ויבוא המן. ויאמר לו המלך, מה לעשות באיש אשר המלך חפץ ביקרו? ויאמר המן בליבו, למי יכפוץ המלך לעשות יקר יותר ממני? ויאמר המלך להמן, מהר קח את הלבוש ואת הסוס כאשר דיברת, והסכן למרדכי היהודי היושב בשער המלך, אל תפל דבר מכל אשר דיברת.
That night, sleep deserted the king, and he ordered the book of records and annals to be brought, and it was read to the king. There it was found written that Mordecai had denounced Bigthana and Teresh, two of the king's eunuchs who guarded the threshold, who had plotted to do away with the king Ahasuerus. What honor or advancement has been conferred on Mordecai for this? The king inquired. Nothing at all has been done for him, replied the king's servants who were in attendance on him. Haman. And the king asked him, what should be done for a man whom the king desires to honor? Haman said to himself, whom would the king desire to honor more than me? So Haman said to the king, for the man whom the king desires to honor, let royal garb which the king has worn be brought, and a horse on which the king has ridden, and on whose head a royal diadem has been set. And let the attire and the horse be put in the charge of one of the king's noble courtiers. And let the man whom the king desires to honor be attired and paraded on the horse through the city square, while they proclaim before him, this is what is done for the man whom the king desires to honor.
Quick, then, said the king to Haman.
Boo!
Get the garb and the horse, as you have said, and do this to Mordecai the Jew, who sits in the king's gate. Omit nothing of all you have proposed. So Haman took the garb and the horse and arrayed Mordecai and paraded him through the city square, and he proclaimed before him, "This is what is done for the man whom the king desires to honor."
Thank you. פרק ז', chapter 7. ויבוא המלך והמן לשתות עם אסתר המלכה, ויאמר המלך לאסתר, גם ביום השני במשתה היין, מה שאלתך אסתר המלכה, ותינתן לך ומה בקשתך עד חצי המלכות ותעש. ותען אסתר המלכה ותאמר, אם מצאתי חן בעיניך המלך, ואם על המלך טוב, תינתן לי נפשי בשאלתי ועמי בבקשתי, כי נמכרנו אני ועמי להשמיד, להרוג ולאבד, ואילו לעבדים ולשפחות נמכרנו החרשתי, כי אין הצער שווה בנזק המלך. ותאמר אסתר, איש צר ואויב המן הרע הזה, והמן נבעט מלפני המלך והמלכה, ויתלו את המן על העץ אשר הכין למרדכי, בחמת המלך שכחה.
So the king and Haman came to
Boo!
with Queen Esther.
Yay!
On the second day, the king again asked Esther, at the wine feast, what is your wish, Queen Esther?
Yay!
It shall be granted you. And what is your request? Even to half the kingdom it shall be fulfilled. Queen Esther replied, if your majesty will do me the favor, if it pleases your majesty, let my life be granted me as my wish, and my people as my request. For we have been sold, my people and I, to be destroyed, massacred, and exterminated. Had we only been sold as bondsmen and bondswomen, I would have kept silent, for the adversary is not worthy of the king's trouble. The adversary and enemy, replied Esther,
Yay!
Is this evil Haman?
Boo!
And Haman cringed in terror before the king and the queen.
The king, in his fury, left the wine feast for the palace garden, while Haman remained to plead with Queen Esther for his life, for he saw that the king had resolved to destroy him. When the king returned from the palace garden to the banquet room, Haman was lying prostrate on the couch on which Esther reclined. Does this mean, he cried to the king, to ravish the queen in my own palace? No sooner did these words leave the king's lips that Haman's face was covered. Then Harbonah, one of the eunuchs in attendance on the king, said, What is more, a stake is standing at Haman's house, 50 cubits high, which Haman made for Mordecai, the man whose word saved the king. Impale him on it, the king ordered.
Yes.
Okay. So they impaled Haman.
Boo!
On the stake, which he had put up for Mordecai, and the king's fury abated.
Thank you. פרק ח', chapter 8. ותוסף אסתר, ותדבר לפני המלך, ותיפול לפני רגליו, ותבק, ותתחנן לו, להעביר את רעת המן האגגי, ואת מחשבתו אשר חשב על היהודים. ויאמר המלך אחשוורוש לאסתר המלכה ומרדכי היהודי, הנה בית המן נתתי לאסתר, ואותו תלו על העץ, על אשר שלח ידו ביהודים. ואתם כתבו על היהודים כתוב בעיניכם בשם המלך, וכתמו בתבת המלך, כי כתב אשר נכתב בשם המלך, ונחתום בטבעת המלך, אין להשיב. ומרדכי יצא מלפני המלך בלבוש מלכות תכלת בחור, ועטרת זהב גדולה, ותכריך בוץ וארגמן, והעיר שושן צהלה ושמחה. ליהודים הייתה הורה ושמחה וששון ויקר.
That very day, King Ahasuerus gave the property of Haman, the enemy of the Jews, to Queen Esther.
Yeah.
Mordecai presented himself to the king, for Esther had revealed how he was related to her. The king slipped off his ring, which he had taken back from Haman, and gave it to Mordecai. And Esther put Mordecai in charge of Haman's property.
Boo!
Esther spoke to the king again, falling on his feet, weeping and beseeching him to avert the evil plotted by Haman, the Agagite, against the Jews. The king extended the golden scepter to Esther.
Yay!
And Esther arose and stood before the king. If it pleases your majesty, she said, and if I have won your favor and the proposal seems right to you, your majesty, and if I'm pleasing to you, let dispatches be written countermanding those which were written by Haman, son of Hammedatha, and the Agagite, embodying his plot to annihilate the Jews throughout the king's provinces. For how can I bear to see the disaster which will befall my people, and how can I bear to see the destruction of my kindred?
Then King Ahasuerus said to Queen Esther and Mordecai the Jew, I have given Haman property to Esther, and he has been impaled upon the stake for scheming against the Jews. And you may further write with regard to the Jews as you see fit. Write it in the king's name and seal it with the king's signet, for an edict that has been written in the king's name and sealed with the king's signet may not be revoked. So the king's scribes were summoned at that time on the 23rd day of the third month, that is the month of Sivan, and letters were written at Mordecai's dictation to the Jews and to the satraps, the governors and the officials of the 127 provinces from India to Ethiopia, to every province in its own script and to every people in its own language, and to Jews in their own script and language. He had them written in the name of King Ahasuerus and sealed with the king's signet. Letters were dispatched by mounted couriers riding the steeds used in the king's service, bred of the royal stud, to this effect. The king has permitted the Jews of every city to assemble and fight for their lives. If any people or province attacks them, they may destroy, massacre, and exterminate its armed force together with women and children and plunder their possessions. On a single day in all of the provinces of King Ahasuerus, namely on the 13th day of the 12th month, that is the month of Adar.
Mordecai left the king's presence in royal robes of blue and white with a magnificent crown of gold and a mantle of fine linen and purple wool. And the city of Shushan rang with joyous cries. The Jews enjoyed light and gladness, happiness and honor.
Thank you. So here is a problem on chapter 9, Perek Tet. So I tried to fix this. I didn't make new photocopies, but so we will start. Try to follow me and try to follow the lines. Yeah, this is what I did. But this is my own language. I'm not sure you will be able to follow it. Okay, anyway, I'm not sure I myself will be able to follow it. Anyway, ויכתוב מרדכי את הדברים האלה, וישלח ספרים אל כל היהודים, אשר בכל המדינות המלך אחשוורוש, הקרובים והרחוקים, לקיים עליהם, להיות עושים את יום 14 לחודש אדר, ואת יום 15 בו, בכל שנה ושנה, כימים אשר נחו בהם היהודים מאויביהם, והחודש אשר נפח להם מיגון לשמחה, ומאבל ליום טוב, לעשות אותם ימי משתה ושמחה, ומשלוח מנות איש לרעהו, ומתנות לאביונים. חג פורים, חג פורים. והימים האלה נזכרים ונעשים בכל דור ודור, משפחה ומשפחה, מדינה ומדינה, ועיר ועיר, בימי הפורים האלה לא יעברו מתוך היהודים, וזכרם לא יסוף מזרעם. Chapter 9 in English.
And so on the 13th day of the 12th month, that is the month of Adar, when the king's command and decree were to be executed, the very day on which the enemies of the Jews had expected to get them in their power, the opposite happened, and the Jews got their enemies in their power. Throughout the provinces of King Ahasuerus, the Jews mustered in their cities to attack those who sought their hurt, and no one could withstand them, for the fear of them had fallen upon all the peoples. Indeed, all the officials of the provinces, the satraps, the governors, and the king's stewards showed deference to the Jews, because the fear of Mordecai had fallen upon them. For Mordecai was now powerful in the royal palace, and his fame was spreading through all the provinces. The man Mordecai was growing ever more powerful. So the Jews struck at their enemies with the sword, slaying and destroying. They wreaked their will upon their enemies. And the Jews in Shushan mustered again on the 14th day of Adar. And I will pass it because I don't want to. That's a long paragraph.
Okay.
But they did not lay hands on the spoil. The rest of the Jews, those in the king's provinces, likewise mustered and fought for their lives. That was on the 13th day of the month Adar, and they rested on the 14th day and made it a day of feasting and merrymaking. But the Jews in Shushan mustered on both the 13th and the 14th days, and so rested on the 15th and made it a day of feasting and merrymaking. That is why village Jews who live in unwalled towns observe the 14th day of the month Adar and make it a day for merrymaking and feasting, as a holiday and an occasion for sending gifts to one another.
Thank you. This is the custom until today. So, for instance, in cities with a wall, surrounded with the wall, from the times of Yehoshua, from the times of Joshua, so they celebrate Purim on the 15th, not on the 14th. So, for instance, in Jerusalem, they celebrate in the other day. So, well, this is the custom. So they celebrate 2 days? No, they celebrate one day. Tel Aviv, and then, so you go to Tel Aviv and then you go to, yeah. Yeah, you have a, you have a, you know, a L'chaim in Haifa or Tel Aviv or whatever, and then you go to okay.
Mordecai recorded these events, and he sent dispatches to all the Jews throughout the provinces of King Ahasuerus, near and far, charging them to observe the 14th and 15th days of Adar every year, the same days on which the Jews enjoyed relief from their foes, in the same month which had been transformed for them from one of the grief and mourning to one of festive joy. They were to observe them as days of feasting and merrymaking, and as on an occasion for sending gifts to one another and presents to the poor. The Jews accordingly assumed as an obligation that which they had begun to practice, and which Mordecai prescribed for them.
For Haman,
Boo!
son of Hammedatha the Agagite, the foe of all the Jews, had plotted to destroy the Jews and had cast Pur, that is the lot, with intent to crush and exterminate them. But when Esther came before the king, he commanded, with the promulgation of this decree, let the evil plot which he devised against the Jews recoil on its own head. So they impaled him and his sons on the stake. For that reason, these days were named Purim, after Pur. In view, then, of all the instructions in the said letter and of what they had experienced in that matter and what had befallen them, the Jews undertook and irrevocably obligated themselves and their descendants and all who might join them to observe these 2 days in the manner prescribed and at the proper time each year.
Thank you.
Consequently, these days are recalled and observed in every generation by every family, every province, and every city. And these days of Purim shall never cease among the Jews, and the memory of them shall never perish among their descendants. These days of Purim shall be observed at their proper time, as Mordecai the Jew, and now Queen Esther has obligated them to do. And just as they have assumed for themselves and their descendants the obligation of the facts with their lamentations, 32, and Esther's ordinance validating these observances of Purim was recorded in a scroll.
Thank you. Perek Yud, chapter 10. Vayasem Hamelech Achashverosh mas al haaretz ve'iye hayam vechol maase tokpo ugevurato ufarashat gdulat Mordechai asher gidlo Hamelech הלא כתובים על ספר דברי הימים למלכי מדי ופרס כי מרדכי היהודי משנה למלך אחשוורוש וגדול ליהודים ורצוי לרוב אחיו דורש טוב לעמו ודובר שלום לכל זרעו.
King Ahasuerus imposed tribute on the mainland and the islands. All his mighty and powerful acts and a full account of the greatness to which the king advanced Mordecai are recorded in the annals of the kings of Media and Persia. For Mordecai, the Jew, ranked next to King Ahasuerus and was highly regarded by the Jews and popular with the multitude of his brethren. He sought the good of his people and interceded for the welfare of all his kindred.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's so incredible to me that this story was in Persia And it was the story of, a person who wanted to annihilate all the Jews, and yeah. So we are not in the celebration, but we will. I'm sure about that. We will pass this challenge too. I hope not so. Because also innocent people are dying, in both sides. So it's not easy. It's not funny. It's quite terrible. But well, so as I said at the beginning, this is how we live the same, almost the same story again and again throughout history. The story of resilience and the story of our continuing living in a creative and powerful way, for our values and our transcendence. So there's a song that we used to sing on Purim. It's on page 673. I would like to sing this with you. So it's called The Rose of Jacob, Shoshanat Yaakov, 673. 673. The rose of Jacob was cheerful and joyous when they saw Mordechai robed in a royal blue. You have been in their everlasting redemption. This is like Oznei Haman, the Ozen of Haman. You know what is Ozen? Ozen is the ear. The Oznei Haman, Hamantashen in Hebrew, is the Haman ears. This is how we call them. So, in every generation, so you make known that all who hope in you will not be embarrassed, and those who take refuge in you will never be humiliated. Cursed is Haman, who sought to destroy me. Blessed is Mordechai the Jew. Blessed is Esther, yay, who acted for me. And it goes like this. Shoshanat Yaakov tzahalla v'samecha bir'otam yachad tchelet Mordechai. Again. Shoshanat Yaakov tzahalla v'samecha bir'otam yachad tchelet Mordechai. Second part. תשועתם הייתה לנצח תקוותם בכל דור ודור ברוך מרדכי היהודי ברוכה אסתר בעדי. Okay, the whole thing one more time. Okay, so we skip some verses in the middle. We don't need to repeat all the time, Arur Haman, whatever. But, this is the song, and this song is sung all over, the Jewish people. During Purim, you will, if you go and, open a YouTube channel or whatever, you will see singing them, reading the Megillah, and then singing all together. Shoshanat Yaakov tzahalla v'samecha bir'otam yachad tchelet Mordechai תשועתם הייתה לנצח ותקוותם בכל דור ודור ברוך מרדכי היהודי ברוכה אסתר בעדי. Pom pom. That's okay. Chag Sameach, everyone. We have some schnapps inside the closet. This is from the times of King Ahasuerus, I think. But maybe they are okay, so we can bring some. vodka, or I'm not so macho for vodka, but we can, whatever. There are lots of, yeah, so let's go there and bring drinks, and thank you for bringing the dessert so we can share the simcha of this Chag, of this holiday. Thank you very, very much, and help me to keep this for next year. Thank you.